Hey ladies and guys, if you decided to tune in, welcome. Quick question for you. Have you ever found yourself staying somewhere too long, longer than what you know you're supposed to be there? Whether it's a job, maybe it's a relationship, or some type of life situation, right? Knowing deep down inside, things are not feeling 100% right to you, but you still stay, right? Maybe to prove that, yeah, there's a problem, but I'm not the problem, or you know what, maybe I'm paranoid, or whatever it is, but you stay. Well, I have. And they got me 45 and fired. Stay tuned as we get ready to talk.
Hey, the love of God has got me clean, no old spies. That desert I was in was deep, so dry. But now I'm out here feeling free, so fly. I'm chilling in the shade. Life gave me some lemons, but my Jesus, he be making lemonade. Lemonade, my Jesus making lemonade.
Hey, welcome to episode 3 of Navigating Life with the Driver, with your host, no other than myself, Vanessa Driver. Hope you guys don't mind. I'm basically making myself at home right now, eating one of my favorite cheat meals, ice cream. I don't know about you guys, but I love taking my ice cream and warming it up in the microwave a little bit just to make it a little bit more softer. I don't know if that's weird or not, but thank you guys for tuning in. I don't know about you, but I'm excited to be back. It's been a moment since my last video. I think October to be exact. A lot of things have changed since then. I started working, and then I got fired, right? So more than, it's been a huge time. But anyway, you guys hear some cackling in the background. Unfortunately, I ain't up on a rich level yet where I can get my own studio and things like that. So I got a little goofy 12-year-old daughter that just down there busting a gut right now. No matter how much I say, be quiet. But anyway, so 45 and fired, right? 45 and fired. Not 45 and fired up or on fire, but fired, right? Still sounds weird because I'm 45. 45 is when you're really supposed to be, in my mind, already know what you're doing, already into your career, right? And sheesh, I ain't been fired from a job since, this is 2026. We're going to say 2004. Last time I was actually fired from a job. And I'm going to be honest. When I got fired at that time, I deserved to be fired because I was young and dumb. I wasn't on the right stuff. So, this one was a little different because at 45, I got plans. 45 is going to be 46, actually, in a couple months. So, I got life goals. I got ambitions. I got these dreams, and I know where I'm going. And this job felt like this was the right step, at least when I first interviewed for the job. And I felt like this was the step in the right direction. Although I will admit, I was a little discouraged when I first took the job because honestly, I had another job offer. Perfect hours, 9 to 3, and it was part-time. And we talking about $32.50 an hour. And I wasn't going to be doing nearly as much as I did on this last job. Very easy. As much as I love case management and all that, I wasn't going to be doing any of that, which is basically serving people's needs, making sure they got hooked to connections and things like that. And when I say connection, I mean like resources and within that part of the community, not the actual organization. So let me clarify that. But got my offer by phone, passed my background check and all that good stuff, so I'm ready. It's Thanksgiving, just getting over with. We preparing for Christmas. I'm waiting on my official offer letter to come through email, and I never got it. So I'm like, oh Lord, what's going on? Like, I passed everything. They were excited. I was excited. And long story short, they reneged on the offer, and I was devastated because I was like, wait a minute, Lord, wait. After 8 months of choosing not to work, to take care of home, to be there for my girls, to connect them to things they needed to be connected to support my husband and his business, and to figure out what I wanted to do with me, I finally decided it was time for me to go back to work. And that was a perfect job. It's exactly what I wanted. But for some reason, God said no. And I didn't understand it. So then I said, Lord, it must really be somebody that need me somewhere else for you to take this back. I feel like, okay, you showed me that if you wanted me there, you could put me there, but it's not where you wanted me. So I'm like, okay. So when, this last job came along, it was like, okay, well, it ain't $32.50 an hour, but it is something that I love to do. So, okay, I'll do it. And I took the job and everything. And, the job was good, but there were parts of it where, and no fault of anyone, but there were certain aspects that I realized that began to bother me emotionally, right? They would play against how I was feeling. That made it feel like I was battling against being able to do my job effectively and different things like that. So I began to run into issues that were very draining and very heavy on me. But as my favorite saying was, I'm just going to muddle through it, right? I'm going to muddle through it. And I believe when I do my job, giving 110%. If it's something I love, something I'm passionate about, I'm pouring myself into it. And it's just what I do. And so with this particular job, it was no thing. It wasn't, not me trying to impress anybody or trying to show anybody up or try to, be it on a stick or anything. It was just me being me, working really hard and doing the job. But then as I began to do the job even more, the feelings I was feeling emotionally began to intensify because I began to take note of certain things. And I'm not going to say whether it's within or without. I just began to take note of certain things that were bothering me. And for a minute, I was carrying it on my own. It was like, okay, Danessa, you're overthinking it. It's not what you think it is. Just push through it. Just put your best foot forward. You go over and beyond to make sure that everybody, no matter whether they're inside or outside, sees that you are professional and that you mean business and that you are here for the people you serve. And you're willing to do anything and can do anything for them. And so that's what I did. Right? But I would find there was times I was going home frustrated because I kept meeting this brick wall. But yet I kept doubting myself and telling myself, Danessa, quit being so paranoid. Stop, quit. So I'm fighting this mental load with the stress of the job. And that, there's good stress and there's bad stress, right? Some of it was good stress, but I would go home emotionally drained. I found myself being more emotional, crying over the smallest things, like, what's wrong with me? So thank God I have a support system in place, right? So I would talk to my support system, professional, spiritual. And then, God put me in a place where I even had I had the professional therapist, but I also had a professional on the work side that I could speak to, and how it just helped me get through the moments. But I will always kind of find myself saying, well, you know what? XYZ, ABC, and this is how I feel, and this is what I think about it. But I'm gonna muddle through it because I'm not weak. I can do this. And I felt like I had something to prove, not so much to others, but also to myself. Because it felt like if I went with what my emotions was telling me to do, that it was going to define me as a failure, right? So I'm ignoring it. I'm ignoring this, and I'm muddling through it. As I say, I'm making it work. I'm making it do what it do. Had one situation come up that threw me for a whole loop. That passionate side of Danessa came out, and I did what I had to do because that's just what I do. I'm me. I work hard for the people I serve. And I put them before I put myself because I take my job seriously. I'll put it like that. Let me take a bite of my ice cream, it's melting. I felt there was a turning point after that. But even with that, it's like, you know what? Just do what you gotta do. Do what you gotta do. Well, let's talk about what happened. I spent about a week and a half really working hard to help someone that was down and in a desperate situation. A client of mine, I'll put it that way. And I expended myself because all I could see was, if that was me and mine, what would I want people to do for me? Regardless of what people may have thought about me, and I'm putting myself in this person's shoes. If that was me, you know, would I want you to look at my actions? Would I want you to look at, oh, well, too bad? Or would I want you to help me in spite of, for the emergency? And then let's round back and talk about all the other stuff that could have prevented this, or all the other stuff that, you know. But for the moment, and I said, that was me, I would want somebody to go hard for me, to show me mercy and grace. And that's what I did. We're talking about early in the morning to late at night, almost 7 days straight, weekends included. I'm doing what I gotta do because I don't want to see this person and their children in the trouble that could have happened. And so God opened doors, and we were down to the wire, right? And I spent that whole day trying to figure things out because it was down to the wire. It was down to the wire. And mind you, I know that I'm not a team of one. So I was making sure to communicate with my team, let them know what was going on. Even just battling through that. And I'm losing sleep. I'm not sleeping well because I'm worried. And when you have a client case manager relationship, you tend to feel more, see more, know more than those on the outside looking in. And so you tend to be able to have a little bit more grace, a little bit more understanding, a little bit more patience, and a different way of handling things. And so anyway, that day was a very stressful day. And I was doing my best to try to work all avenues for this client, trying to advocate for them when it came to all their needs. And there was just blockage all around. And it was frustrating me. But I was still saying, hey, just like I've done before, I'm going to muddle through this. As long as this person's issue is solved before this day ends and we avoid those consequences or those circumstances, then we good. But I did not expect how that evening ended. And all I would say is that I felt blindsided. I felt frustrated. And when I reached out for help and asked certain questions, I felt like I was met with an attitude of, just an attitude, I'll put it that way. I felt like I was met with an attitude. I felt that I was laughed at. I'm not gonna say I was laughed at when I was asking questions. It was just like, and I don't think people really understood the pressure that I was under. Not just that pressure, but even, as being a parent, I was down to the wire of helping this person out. Then I had a child I had to go pick up. All that kind of stuff was going through my head. And it's like, I don't have time for games. Like, this isn't funny to me. And I was already feeling frustrated because I had done so much work. And finally, we were able to find a solution. And then all of a sudden, the game plan changes and I have no clue what's going on because for some reason I was boxed out of everything. And I don't understand it. And again, it could be my perception or whatever it was, but just talking from me, okay? I can't talk for anybody else. And so I'm carrying the frustration of that. And then you walk in and you're met with a attitude that seems to be ridiculing instead of helping. and gracious, and I'm already upset. And so what happens, all that stuff Danessa's been carrying for all that time, saying, oh, I'm making this up, or let's just you being over dramatic, it bursts like a dam, right? Like a broken dam comes out, and I'm not who I am, who I normally am. I just basically, I don't want to say snap, because snap to me sounds like I'm in there tearing stuff up, I'm in there cussing folks out, and none of that happened. Although I did get some paperwork saying that I used some profanity, but anyway, that's neither here nor there, because I didn't, but it is what it is, you know? But I did kind of say, look, I'm done here. You can do this, you can do that. I'm going. The one thing that I could control, I'm going to pick my daughter up. I'm not going to ride all the way back to a school to go pick her up. And I felt like because I had been not communicated with effectively, then since I was already out of the loop, I'll stay out of the loop and you guys can handle it. Was it my best moment? No. It was not my best moment. Was it the best choice? No, it wasn't. It was not. When I left there, it's like when I said the dam broke, the dam broke. I said I walked out, and then I think I cried that whole night. Literally that whole night, I cried. And then I came to the realization that I self-sabotaged myself. And I should have listened to the voice that was talking to me that whole time. And I didn't. And so, fast forward, I'm here without a job now, right? When I went into that meeting, I thought I was going to have an opportunity to talk, you know, about what happened, the opportunity to explain, the opportunity for a second chance, right? Some grace. Like, you know, we're talking about a job that 3 months, and for the 3 months I'm there, I'm being told how great of a worker I am, how much I bring to the team, how much this part of the program has improved, the numbers of this, the number of this. So it's just like, all that was letting me know, hey, I'm bringing something, I'm doing something. Why would I want to walk away from this because of X, Y, and Z? And in that moment, though, when I got called in, none of that mattered. None of that came up. I'm going to tell you what did come up. The head decided to let you go effective immediately today. We've decided that you do not match the morals and core values of our agency. That came up. Conflict of interest that came up. Oh, and overstepping boundaries came up. And as I sat there, it felt like gunshots to the heart. Literally, because it did not match anything I had heard over the last 3 months. And it felt very devastating to my character, very devastating to me as a person, because I know how hard I had worked. I know, especially within that whole week and a half prior to that. And I felt cheated. I felt embarrassed. I felt like a failure. I felt like I didn't know who I was anymore. Like, I really started questioning myself in that moment. Like, how could you end up here? One moment erased 3 months worth of work, 3 months worth of giving myself, 3 months worth of just everything. And I was mad. I'm gonna be honest, I was mad. I was hurt. And I felt like they owed me something. I felt like they owed me the opportunity to explain. I felt like they owed me at least a second chance for all that I had put in. And I didn't just put in the norm, I was sacrificing some stuff. Like, I literally was working like super hard. I'm talking about some stuff. And I felt like they owed me that. But then as I went home and licked my wounds, as I told my husband, I look at my wounds and everything, I began to just think about it like, at will. At will means what it means. They don't owe me anything. And it took me a moment to grasp that. I don't want to say grasp it because I was slow on the uptake and I didn't understand it. Grasp it that that's the reality of it. Like, they don't owe me anything. But as I began to think about that, it was like, but you know what? I owe me. I owe me. I really do. I had to begin to self-reflect as I thought about that moment. That one moment that left me 45 and fired. And it's like, what could I have done differently? What led up to that? What? And I realized I basically loaded the gun and shot myself. I self-sabotaged myself. And for what? To be 45 and fired and my character ruined from one moment. One moment. And I thought about that thing. I instead of self-love, I self-sacrificed myself, and now that I've had time to reflect on it, I wanted to share this because ladies and even gentlemen, if you tuned in, we're guilty of that. I'm very guilty of that. And it's not the problem that we are so giving, because it's good to be giving. God created us to be who we are. And I began to ask myself, like, was I doing too much? Was I, I can't help be who I am. And if that rubs people the wrong way, I'm sorry, but it's not personal. Like, I believe in doing my job and doing it 110%. And I believe in following the rules. I believe in, if we have the power to do something, let's do it the right way. Let's serve the people like we're supposed to. And then I also believe in, I was an advocate. I'm an advocate. So if you ask me to be an advocate, I'm going to be an advocate. I'm going to advocate. I'm going to look. I'm going to research. I'm going to make sure that we're on the up and up. I'm going to make sure that I'm serving these people. And these people that I'm serving, if they have needs and you have the resources, yes, I'm going to advocate for those resources. And it ain't nothing personal. But those people are counting on me to advocate for them. This is what I said I would do. And so I just began to question myself, like, am I too much? And it's like, I can't help be who I am. But it's like, I notice sometimes that I'm a lot for people. And it makes me feel, bad sometimes. But then I have to realize that I didn't make me. The Bible say I was fearfully and wonderfully made by God, right? That means I wasn't happenstance. Fearfully means that he really took his time. That he was very careful about how he pieced me together, about what he poured into me, what he poured into you. Very careful about it. Intentional about it, right? And wonderfully. That means that everything that he has put within us, it's wonderful. It's beautiful. It's for a reason. It's for to glorify him and to help others. So my problem isn't the giving of myself and the giving of what God has put into me. It was the giving too much in the wrong environment. And when you give in the wrong environment of yourself like that, it's going to backfire on you, okay? And when I say the wrong environment, I'm not saying, because the environment don't have to be so much toxic where it's, oh, I hate coming to work, and because all places has their good and bad. Okay, there's no perfect workplace. Now there's some places where you can go and you just love being there and good, because I've had some jobs like that too. Loved it. It just wasn't something that I wanted to do because it was just too much for me personally. But the job itself, the workplace was awesome. But there could be places where there's good and bad mixed. But if that negative part is taking a toll on your mental and your emotional, I don't care how much good is there. I don't care what opportunities are opened up to you. I don't care about any of that, because that negative is going to eventually keep chipping away, and it's going to be that one thing that's going to cause you, as it didn't mean, make that down break, right? And so that's what I mean, giving yourself in the wrong environment. And everything within me was telling me, Danessa, you may not want to stay here. You may want to just go ahead and move on. But why did I stay? Because I felt like I had something to prove, I guess, to myself. First and foremost, that I'm not a quitter. I'm not a failure. I'm not weak. And I'm professional. I can make this work. But the thing is, you can make you work, but you can't control how people work with you. Can't control that. And that's the part I guess forgot to focus on and really think about. I think if I would have listened to that inner voice that kept saying something's not right, that part of me that was crying over the smallest stuff and wondering, like, why are you so emotional? Why are you upset? Why are you, things like that. If I would have took the time to listen to her, self-cared a little bit more, actually paid attention, I wouldn't find myself here. Now, I ain't one to get up and just quit a job now. I ain't gonna do that. But I would have, because I voiced it out of my mouth several times and said, I think I should put my 2 weeks in. But then that voice said, well, no, then I see you've been over dramatic, and they invested so much in you, and they're giving you this opportunity, and your clients just love you, this and that. But emotionally, Danessa was not okay. And it just wasn't like, that's not the only place you can do this work at, but it doesn't define you, because you have to walk away for your mental or emotional health. It doesn't define you as a person. But I couldn't separate that. Naomi Rain, she's this contemporary Christian singer. She sings with Maverick City sometimes too. Anyway, I love her. She has a song called Choosing Myself. And there's a line in there that says that I'll always stay too long because I've never learned how to move on. And I find that true. And I share this about my job, not because I want to be like, oh, feel sorry for me, or, oh, let's be messy. No, because I realize that this can be relatable to all areas of our life, not just jobs, but relationships, whether it's romantic, family, life situations, community connections. We can overextend ourselves, overgive, overstep our own boundaries, because we feel like we gotta do all we can do before we call it quits, right? One thing I find myself guilty of saying a lot is, and that's in all areas, is, well, they'll never be able to say that I didn't try everything. They'll never be able to say that I didn't do everything, I didn't try everything, and things like that, right? And guess what? Yeah, they can. They can say that. And they won't care. Like, at the end of the day, if it don't work out, guess what? They still gonna find fault. Relationship, job, whatever not. Whether you gave yourself or not. And then the thing is, okay, so you gave everything. But at what expense? The expense of you. Think about a relationship. Now, yeah, you love this person, that's good in this relationship, but there's also bad. And that bad is not like the normal, stress of a relationship, normal ups and downs, but it's toxic, it's bad, and it causes you to feel triggered at times, where it's messing with your whole emotional well-being. You find yourself walking on eggshells, you find yourself just questioning who you are, your self-worth is low, you're angry, you're anxious, like it's really affecting you, right? But then there's the good moments, okay? And you stay because when you muddle through those toxic seasons and you see the good moments, it makes you think like, okay, yes. All the hard work I'm putting in, it's making a difference. They're seeing it. It's making a difference. Things are going to change. Things are going to get better. If not, they're going to advocate for me. They're going to see what I'm bringing to the table. And the reality is that if they're not seeing it, not gonna see it, right? And then when it ends, who's left devastated? You, me, because we overextended ourselves to an environment that didn't see a problem with what was going on in the first place. So why would you change something that you don't see a problem with? That's like going into a relationship, you're dating someone and you see all these red flags and you say, you know what? I know Joe Blow has an anger problem and he snaps off, and I know that he does this and he does that, but when I get with him, it's all right. I'm gonna change this, I'm gonna change that. I'm gonna help him with that. He just need a good woman in his life, or they just need a good employee here. Yeah, we gonna fix that. Yeah, no, that's not how we do it. That's all right. They just need somebody here to be a good example to them. And you get in that thing, you get in that relationship, and you wonder why there's so much conflict, why you're having so much pushback, why this person's always angry with you, because they never asked you to help change them. First of all, they never saw a problem. So for you to come in and talk about something need to change, they look at you like, you knew how I was before you came up in here. So why are you trying to change me? Well, we spend all that time, well, if I just be extra nice, or if I go the extra mile, or if I do this and that, then they'll change. And no, because if they don't see it, it don't matter what you do, what you say, it's not going to change. And that's no matter what environment you're in. No matter what environment you're in. And I say I owe myself, the signs I should have seen. I don't know if you guys heard of the term emotional dysregulation. And we all suffer from some form of it. Like I said, jobs, relationships, life circumstances, family members. We can all experience stress from those things, sadness, anger, some depression, some feelings of being overwhelmed, just not want to be bothered. We experience those things, and those are part of life, and we learn how to muddle through. But sometimes emotional dysregulation can also be intensified if, by certain factors, like mental health. If you're someone that has a diagnosis, maybe like ADHD or autism or anxiety or things like that, emotional dysregulation is intensified in moments, and sometimes it's kind of blown out of proportion because it's underlying emotions behind that's pushing that. And so, or ladies, again, I'm 45, right? Okay, we know if you're a woman, 45 means I'm probably knocking on or in the stages of perimenopause. We know what that means. That means emotional highs and emotional lows, and you don't get to choose the temperature half the time. So taking all that in consideration, when I seen this happening, I did the right thing and I reached out to my support system, right? But then I stopped there. I heard the inner voice and I talked to her, but then I brushed it off and told her to be quiet, grow up. Nobody's studying you. But where I messed up at, and where we messed up, is that we don't listen to it. We don't apply what's being shared with us for our support systems. Like the saying, knowledge is power. That used to be like really popular. And then someone came along and said, no, not knowledge isn't power. Applied knowledge is where the power lies. Because I can know all these things, but until I put it into play, then I'm just knowing. That's it. And that's kind of how it was in my situation. Yeah, I was talking to the right people. I was in the knowledge of what was going on with me, but I was not taking into consideration what the inner voice was telling me, even what my support systems were telling me. Danessa, if it gets to the point, do what you gotta do. Self-care, do this, do that. I'm brushing, oh, no. Thanks for listening to me. Thanks for the advice. Oh, inner voice, be quiet. We got this. Stop being paranoid and set myself up for failure, right? Set myself up for failure. That's that self-sabotage I'm talking about. Yeah, crazy. Very crazy. And so I just want to share this learning experience, because when I say it really threw me, it threw me. It's hard to fight a battle that you can't see. It's hard to fight against something that is just, like I said, I didn't get an advantage to defend myself. And they don't owe me anything. But what I can do moving forward is listen to my inner voice. when I see, and I'm going to use an analogy, because listen, knowing your emotional level and your mental level when it comes to handling stress, and knowing, what your triggers are, is worth knowing. Knowing that stuff is good because it helps you be able to listen to that inner voice, engage on that radar where you are, and it helps you come up with a preventative self-care plan. When you're starting to see these things dwindle down, you start putting, like preventative maintenance. You're not going to wait until your heater, let's say your heater breaks, to change the filter. Every year, that filter has to be changed. I'm a homeowner, so I had to use that. But if I never do preventative maintenance on certain things, and then when it breaks down, I'm angry. Why did it break down? But I knew there was things I needed to do to take care of to make it last longer. But it only lasted me 3 years because I never changed the filter. I never did what I needed to do preventative maintenance wise. And now I'm angry because it's busted and it didn't give me any warning. But it's kind of my fault because the manual told me what to do, but I didn't do it. So we got to have a preventative self-care plan for ourselves. And that looks different for everybody. That first starts by knowing what your triggers are, recognizing when you're starting to feel stress, when you're starting to feel those ways, and taking time to self-care, But on top of that, knowing all that stuff will actually help you have a reactive self-care plan too, okay? Because let's face it, we're human. We're not going to be perfect all the time. Christian or not, let me tell you, Christian or not, because I know some people, you're supposed to be saved. I am, honey pie. I am saved, sanctified, loving Jesus Christ with all my life, okay? But I am also human. What does Paul say? There's two members, one within my body, one to do good and one to do evil, and that I should do, I find myself not doing. Now, Paul, the great apostle Paul, that wrote most of the New Testament, had an issue. Well, Sister Danessa, they ain't wrote nothing up in that Bible. What more for me, okay? And what more for you? Saved or not saved, we gonna have moments where we gonna need to have a reactive self-care plan, okay? And we gonna have moments where if I find myself high and up there already, I gotta yank my own coattail. I gotta have some accountability partners around that I already say, hey, look, I'm stressed. If you see me, yank me, come get me, grab me, but have a plan in place. That way you don't find yourself saying and doing stuff that you shouldn't do. Now, if you find yourself there, give yourself some grace. Because again, we are human. Nobody's perfect. We all have moments. We all have days, okay? And that's something I'm learning to do with myself. Give myself some grace. Give myself some grace. Because I was kicking myself like, girl. And again, in my mind, yes, I feel justified for someone because I felt that I was being taunted. That's the word I was looking for. I was being taunted. And I was already frustrated. But I had some responsibilities too. And if I would have if I would have taken care of my preventative maintenance self-care and also had a reactive self-care plan in place, it could have been avoided. I could have saved face. I really could have saved face, but I didn't. So now I'm learning to give myself grace. That job don't owe me no grace, but I owe myself some grace. That relationship don't owe you no grace, but you owe yourself some grace. I just want to say, sis, bro, don't change because the job didn't work out. Don't change because... Now, if you got some negative Nancy's in your life, personal negative, not negative Nancy's that's coming on saying that, but it's you got some things about yourself that's really negative and you need to change, then okay, yeah. Don't listen to me when I say don't change. But I'm saying if you're doing all the right stuff, you want to up and up, and you make a mistake, or you're giving too much, or you have given all of you to this relationship, you have given all of you to this job, and you feel like, what was the use? What was the use of this? Like, I'm a failure, I'm a liability, I'm this. Give yourself some grace because you're human. Don't change who God created you to be. You are an asset. I am an asset in the right environment. And it may take time to find that environment. That environment may look different for the moment. Like for me, I feel right now, as much as I love social work, God knows I love social work, I feel like social work don't like me too much right now. And what I mean by that is that it's very heavy on me, and I go all in. And right now, I feel that in the space that I'm in, and with the playing field I have right now, I need to take a step back from social work. I need to find a chill job. Now, am I giving up on social work? No. But I'm self-caring right now. And what I am going to do, because I am passionate about social work, but I'm learning there's different avenues in social work where I can still make a difference. And what I also learned is that even though I'm not in that seat professionally, because of the knowledge that the Lord has allowed me to gain over these last 10 years, I still can help. I still can advocate. I'm not getting paid for it, but you wouldn't imagine the people that come to me, the people that I'm able to help, the people I'm able to direct behind the scenes. And I'm okay with that being behind the scenes. I think I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Because I'm not up to battling. I'm not up to proving myself anymore. I'm exhausted from that. I'm exhausted of trying to fight what feels like a uphill battle when it's not necessary. When the bottom line is for people to be helped. And I can do that behind the scenes. So right now, I just want to chill. That's my plans. I want to chill. I need my money, right? I need my money. But I want to put my passion into going to school, right? For what? Social work. Because it's where my heart is. But the thing is, I'm going to put that energy into that because there's so much more I can do with a degree. So many different levels I can go to. So much more I can do. So many different ways I can fight in a way that is effective for my clients or my non-clients. I consider everybody in the city my clients, y'all. Y'all come to me, you see me, I will give you resources in a moment. If I see something on Facebook, I will give you resources in a moment. Like, we're helpers one to another. I don't want to see nobody down on their luck because I've been there. I know what it's like to be homeless. I know what it's like to be in relationships where it's not healthy, it's toxic, physically, mentally, emotionally. I know what it's like. And I have always said, even from a child on up, I want to be what I didn't have, what I wish people would have been for me. So if you ever wonder why I go so hard, why I take what I do very seriously, it's because I purpose to be what I did not have and what I found was missing. And that's just who I am. And that's who God has created me to be. Through every struggle, through every, Lord, I don't understand why this happened to me. Lord, this seems unfair. Lord, I feel like this broke me. Yeah, it broke me, but it also made me. It made me who I was, that compassionate, caring, passionate person that I am. And so I just want to encourage you, wherever stage you find yourself in life, whether it's in a job or relationship, even family-wise, if you're like, you find yourself overgiving, don't be afraid to practice some self-love, some self-care. Don't be afraid to put some boundaries, because let me tell you something. If I would have put some boundaries in place, I wouldn't have found myself there. Maybe that meant a change of scenery. Maybe I would have just had to go ahead but I would have put that boundary in place. But because I didn't, and I kept erasing the line and pushing it back, because I really want to make this work. I don't care what emotional Danessa is saying. I want to make this work. So I kept erasing the line, pushing it back, erasing the line, pushing it back. Again, there I go, sacrificing myself and my well-being, sabotaging myself, right? And I want to encourage you, whatever arena you find yourself in life, because you're worth having boundaries. I don't think it's a problem with most of us when it comes to knowing what makes us feel good, what makes us feel safe, what makes us feel respected. Like, we kind of know our boundaries. And if you don't, pay attention to what makes you upset. Pay attention to what makes you sad or depressed when it comes to other people and things in your life. Because those are the areas that are telling you maybe you need to put some boundaries in place. But I think most of us kind of know where our boundaries are, but most of us may struggle with actually enforcing it. And the question you need to ask yourself is, and even have planned, when you come to enforce, what does enforcing your boundaries look like for you? I think if I would have known that, if I would have said, if XYZ happens X amount of times, then this is how I'm going to enforce that boundary. I'm going to do XYZ. I think, It's not enough to know your boundaries, but you have to do the work, and you have to be willing to be assertive and not be afraid to advocate for yourself. You ain't gotta be mean to advocate it, but make your boundaries known, because how else will people know? It's not fair for you to put a boundary in place, but you haven't told anybody. Then you get mad when they cross your boundaries. But if they don't know, they don't know. Now, if they do know, whether it's job, relationship, family, and they continue to just, whatever, I heard what she said, I already said, I don't care, and they continue to cross it, then it's because you have a plan in place. Well, I told myself that if John Boy crossed this line, then I was going to enforce the boundary this way. And I also made it known to him. Now, you determine how many times you're going to erase that line and keep letting them cross it. Don't determine it by because sometimes we too compassionate, but determine it by your radar on how it's making you feel on the inside. Because if you keep erasing it and redrawing it, you're going to find yourself where I found myself, basically. Possibly, who knows? Or maybe you react differently. But anyway, I just wanted to share that. I felt that it's a good advice to share, right? Because I feel like even though my situation, I got fired, I realized that even though I feel like I should have been given a second chance, I feel like the situation was not as bad as they made it out to be, because the things they told me that I did were part of my job description when it comes to conflict of interest. The communication that was made was something that was part of my job to do. I didn't overstep boundaries. I was very open about past employment, so, all that kind of stuff. So, my only failure was that I allowed myself to lose it. I did not take care of me. I did not self-care when I needed to. I did not put boundaries in place when I needed to. I didn't have a plan in place. No, I let me down. And I, like I said, I shot myself. I loaded the gun and shot myself. And I loaded the gun for others to do that to me too, to make up things. Take one thing, and define me as someone that has no morals or core values. But I know who I am, and that's what counts. I know who I am, and you gotta know who you are. So even if that relationship don't work out, sis, if that job don't work out, know who you are. You are great. You are wonderful. You got something wonderful to offer. Don't change it. Work on changing where you're giving it. And if you keep finding yourself giving it in the wrong environment, it's time to do some work to become self-aware. You got to do some work to become self-aware, because there's something underlying. Now, that's where the responsibility of you falls in. You got to find out the why. Why do you keep giving it in the wrong environment? Why do you keep settling? I know me, I used to think that I should feel lucky. I don't feel that way no more. I'm worth the best. Even that means I got to wait, I'm still worth the best. And then you are too. So if you ain't heard nothing else tonight, you're not a liability, you're an asset in the right environment. Okay? So hopefully soon I'll go from being 45 and fired to 45, 46 and fired up. Actually, yeah, I'm going to go to 46 and fired up, because I start school in the fall. Hey. All right. Well, before I go, I do want to give a call to action, because this is just me. This is just my insight. This is just me sharing. But like I said, I'm human. So I'm still kind of processing what has happened in my life. And I have my days. I have my good days, my bad days, my sad days, my I can't believe this days. And I had to put the music on. I had to kind of block out the voice to say, they're talking about you and all that, So any of you that's ever found yourself in my position, maybe you lost a job, or maybe even relationship-wise, because you never know who's tuning in. If you've ever found yourself where you stayed somewhere too long, longer than what you should have, where you didn't self-care, where you gave to the wrong environments, where you found yourself broken and questioning, put it in the comments. Please share. Please share how you made it through. Please share if you're going through and you want advice. We're helpers one to another, okay? I'm just a navigator, but I ain't on this journey by myself, okay? And I'm always open to what you guys got to say, all right? Well, other than that, thank you for tuning in. If you have not liked and subscribed, please do so. And please share. You never know who needs to hear this, all right? Until then, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. Called me his own. Now my heart finally feels like home. I'm not chasing what the world calls fame. My validation comes from his name. When he said I'm chosen, I believe. Now I walk in the truth he gave to me. I stopped the water